Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Dennis Thrall, he, him, his pronouns, Multnomah County Communications. We're here to talk about move-in Multnomah. We've got a panel of folks here willing to talk to you about this and explain what's going on. I'll give some ground rules. We're going to have our folks speak. If you are not speaking, please, turn your camera off, go on mute, and then when it's your turn, pop back up, take the mute off. And then at the we'll open to questions after our final speaker. We will say then, all the speakers will be on camera, but reporters, raise your hand, we'll call on you, and, come on camera then, and speakers will all be on camera at that point too. And if there are questions that speakers can't answer or we need to get more information to you, feel free to email me. Feel free to email Julie Jenkins-Soderberg from the Joint Office. We've got folks who are willing to answer those questions. So without further ado, I will follow my own instructions, go off camera, and welcome Chair Deborah Kafory as our first speaker.
Thank you, Dennis. Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Kafory, Multnomah County Chair, and as the Chair of Multnomah County, it has been my highest priority to ensure that each and every one of our neighbors has a safe place to call home. A home where they can rest, a home where they can enjoy small comforts, a home to call their very own. The crisis of homelessness is a symptom of many factors: wages and Social Security that haven't kept up with skyrocketing rents, a shortage of affordable housing, difficulty finding behavioral health treatment, and even the pandemic itself. Addressing these needs in a meaningful way takes all of us: government, the private sector, social service organizations, individuals coming together. At Multnomah County, we're working hard to do our part, committing ourselves to a both-and approach to this work, housing and sheltering people. Between July 1st and December 31st of last year, we helped 1,780 people move into a permanent home, while 3,750 people stayed in a county-funded shelter for at least one night. Since I have been chair, we have nearly quadrupled the number of shelter beds available in Multnomah County. Over 4,800 people received permanent supportive housing services like mental health and addiction treatment to help them take full advantage of the stability of housing. And almost half of those who got services identified as a person of color. We know that we need every tool in our toolbox to ensure that those living on the edge of homelessness stay housed, and that those experiencing homelessness can find a path back into homes. That includes tools like rent assistance, which has prevented thousands of people from losing their homes throughout the pandemic and helped thousands of others leave homelessness. It also includes the short-term interventions that are paired with the long-lasting solution of permanent supportive housing. One of the tools that we've been using successfully is having our community providers working with landlords to provide permanent housing and supports for individuals and families. We need to do more, and we will, but we need those landlord partners. And that's why we're here today. We're launching the Move in Multnomah initiative and issuing a call to action for more landlords to join us, because no apartment should sit unoccupied while our neighbors are fighting for survival outside. People need housing. Landlords have vacant units. We can cover the rent. My ask today, let's bring people together to address the crisis of homelessness. And next, I'd like to invite Shannon Singleton, who is the Interim Director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services, to share some more about the tools that we are offering.
Thank you, Chair. Shannon Singleton, she and her pronouns, and I'm the Interim Director of the Joint Office of Homeless Services. As we continue to find ways to increase the ability of our neighbors to exit homelessness and move back into housing, today we're asking for our landlord partners to join us in this critically important work. Because we know that the biggest barrier to freeing up beds in our shelters and transitional housing programs is access to affordable housing. We're building from what we know has worked and adding new tools to the toolbox. This time-limited effort to bring more partners to the table and open more doors to housing include rent guarantees for up to 12 months of rent should one of our tenants face an unexpected cost like a medical bill or changes in their wages. A unit holding fee so that we can help support people as they transition out of their shelter or off the streets into housing and make sure that we don't lose access to that unit. A damage repair fund that includes the ability for landlords to work with our provider partners to assess any potential damages that come after a tenant may move. I will say this is a tool that we've used in the past, and we have not had to do large payouts on the damage fund, but we do like to have this tool available so that landlords really feel safe and secure in joining this partnership. And we will also have a dedicated 24/7 phone line access through 211, who will help us really connect landlords back to the provider partners should issues or concerns arise with tenancy. Just because someone has been out of housing for a long time doesn't mean that they can't succeed in housing. And I'd really like to clear something up today. It is housing first. It has never been housing only. But for housing first to work, we need to have homes for people to move into. And we can support them in their long-term stability and movement towards health. Tenants supported by our network of amazing partners have higher rates of stay in their apartments than the general market. With that, I'd like to hand it over to one of those awesome partners, Julia Delgado, who is the Vice President of the Urban League of Portland.
Thank you, Shannon. Hi, I'm Julia Delgado. I'm Vice President of the Urban League of Portland. I use she and her pronouns. Urban League of Portland is one of the oldest civil rights and service organizations in the region. And actually, we're really novice in terms of homeless services, but we see homeless services as really an important civil rights issue. And we started doing this work not that long ago at all. And we've been operating now a program called Project Haven. It's a successful community-based scattered site permanent supportive housing program for over 6 years. For our participants in Project Haven, before entering the program, their average length of homelessness was over 4 years. And our participants have retained their housing at a 98% rate. Like Shannon said, that's actually much better than the general public. Permanent supportive housing works to end homelessness. And for a long time, our region has had really big obstacles in taking successful work like ours and other permanent supportive housing programs to scale to meet the need. The need has been rising, but there hasn't been additional resources up until just a few months ago. Now with the new Metro Supportive Housing Service Measure, there are enough resources to make rent affordable and supportive services available. But, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So now, along with the supportive housing measure and these new investments by the county and the city and state, projects like ours, which work, can be brought to scale using existing housing. Excuse me. So any unit of housing can be made into permanent supportive housing by matching people with the services that they need, the rent assistance they require, and using existing community-based housing that is vacant right now. Doing this is evidence-based, it's the most cost-efficient, and it's the most effective way to end homelessness, not to hide it, not to prolong it, not to criminalize it, but to truly end homelessness for our neighbors. These new resources from Supportive Housing Service Measure and through the county and city and state, they will make our work, I'm so sorry, they'll make our work faster and easier. And we're really excited to be able to expand models like ours that really work. And while the models work for us, for our community, and for the people who are exiting homelessness, they also work really well for the property owners that we partner with. One of those property owners is joining us now today. I'm privileged to introduce Violet Larry, who's been a landlord partner with Project Haven for more than 5 years. Violet.
Good morning. I'm Violet Larry, and I use she, her pronouns. Thank you for having me. My parents have had rental property for over 50 years in Multnomah County. They looked at this work as a ministry, always wanting to help others. In doing so, often getting burned. We rented to those with poor rental history, prior evictions, single parents, fathers with young children. And over the years, we would go month after month after month without getting any rent. This was in an effort to try to prevent displacement of families. We never charged market rent. And so our rent was much lower to allow families to be able to have a place to live. You know, when we were approached by, it came from the tenant himself saying, I'm part of the Urban League, I have a case manager, and they're gonna take care of everything. You don't have to worry. It's like, really? We don't have to worry about anything. We were pretty skeptical. I talked to my mom about this, and she said, okay, we'll try it. It's been the best partnership that we could have had. The case management experience that they provide and services that are provided to the families who are the tenants has been amazing. These are things that my family used to do, you know, providing food boxes and, you know, making sure other supportive services were available. And now there's actually an organization who will do this for the families. When it comes to the rental screening process, the Urban League has done it all. We don't have to do any of the screening. Rent comes on time. We are now able to charge market rate. It's just been an amazing program for the tenants and the landlords. And I really want to encourage those landlords out there who have vacant units to really look into this master leasing program. It might sound like it's this huge project that takes a lot of time and has a lot of check marks and boxes that you have to go through, but they have made it so simple. All they do really is provide you with the tenant. Everything else is done. And like I said, they pay on time and they are a support. We work together. You're not alone. The tenant isn't alone. When problems arise, reach out to the Urban League, and everything has been resolved in a timely manner. So I really plead, because we need to get families housed in stable housing. So really think hard and long about participating in this program. You won't be disappointed, and you will be making a difference in your community. And next, I'd like to introduce Rico Mejia to share his story. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Rico Mejia. I'm the lead case manager here at the River Haven Recovery Program of Central City Concern. We are a new 7-month program here on the Northeast side on Sandy, and it's an honor and a privilege to speak to everybody today. I was homeless for about 15 years. I was what they call a nuisance at every doorway downtown Portland. I've slept in every doorway, in every park in our Portland area. Worser being one of the worst hazards was what they used to say in the county. At the time, I had a drug-free zone exclusion in 2009 from downtown. I also was kicked out of all the hospitals in our surrounding area and kicked out of Hooper Detox for life. And even worse than being a hazard to the community, I was a hazard to my family. Nobody in my family would allow me in their home. After doing a small little stint in our county jail, I got involved in outpatient treatment at Central City Concern and got supportive housing. I graduated treatment in 5 months and then moved into where I was able to pay rent and get some rental history. Altogether, I was in supportive housing for 19 months. In that process, I was able to do an 80-hour volunteer program to give back to the parks that I've done damaged in. Lowe's, Meals on Wheels, Lions Club, a lot of community partners. And in that time, I got to also become a family member again. I had a lot of people in the county, like my PO, Debbie Mitchell. I had people in the county like Anthony Jordan, Karen Jacobs, Gary Cobb, Jules Bailey, people that really encouraged me and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I think that's a big deal with supportive housing is we don't just send people to a landlord or give somebody a key to move in. We send people that have developed a healthy discipline routine and that it's become second nature to them. So when I got my first job at Restaurant Depot, I became the union rep. I was always early. I was always grateful to have a job. And then when I got my first place to live, rent was paid on time. Today, my second job is I manage a prison reentry house. I've done that for 5 years. And they asked me to come out and open this new recovery program out here. And everything we do is about helping people from homelessness and getting them to self-sufficiency with long-term permanent housing. Also, it's very grateful. I'm in the process of buying my house, and most of my closest friends are landlords, right? And a lot of it's sober living. And not only do they get paid rent to them, but they also get a great story. A lot of people that get involved in the county and that Central City Concern, we know how our movie or how their movie was. My movie was a sad movie. It was a bunch of loss and pain and hurt and disappointment and letting everybody down close to me. But once we get to the resources and services and get some support, we get to do our movie part 2. And today I always tell clients and residents I serve, my movie is like a Rocky 3 movie. It's about victory and hope and love and support today. I still say I live in the best city in the world. I call it Portland, Oregon. And I believe our city's kind of hit a bottom. And as we hit, and our community hits the bottom, I know the harder we hit bottom, also the higher we bounce up. And I believe through attitude and partnerships with our community partners and landlords, that our attitude will get great, and attitude dictates altitude. So it's been an honor and privilege to speak to everybody today. Thank you.
Rico, thank you very much for sharing, and thanks to all the speakers. We'll open up for questions. A couple things, if folks want to either put a question in the chat or raise your hand, we'll call on you in order, and come on camera if you need, do what you will, but we will, and our speakers will come on, so we'll take questions now. Thanks. And it looks like I see Sophie with a hand raised. Sophie.
Hey there, this is Sophie Peel with Willamette Week. Just a couple questions about the funding mechanism here. How many units will this program fund? It looks like the application is open until June 30th. I'm just wondering if there's a cap for how many landlords will get this, will get into this program, and then 2, where the actual dollars are coming from, whether it's coming from the homelessness measure or something else. Thanks.
I'll take that, Sophie. Yes, the money is coming from the supportive services measure, and we do not have a cap. We have put aside or are budgeting about $4 million for this, but our goal is to get as many people off the streets as possible. So I have no doubt that the success, and hopefully this program will be very successful, and we'll be able to continue it.
Got it. Thank you. And then are you guys going to be paying whatever the landlord pays or, charges for a regular unit, or are you guys going to try to bargain down that price?
Shannon, do you want to take that question?
Thank you. So I would say in our normal practice, we're always trying to negotiate price, but we are not looking to drive these rents down like we would in a new development where we're attaching rent assistance to the unit to keep it at a certain rent level. So we fully expect to be paying market rate, again, like we do very commonly in our work across the community.
Thank you.
Nicole, looks like you're next.
Hello, Nicole from the Oregonian here. I was wondering if you know how many landlords you currently partner with throughout your organizations, and if you kind of have a estimate for how many more you're hoping to join on.
Shannon, this one's for you.
It's a great question about how many landlord partners we currently have. That would be something we'd need to follow up on and talk to our providers about. Julia may have an answer for Urban League, but across our system, that's not data that we currently have at the joint office. And I think, as the chair said a few moments ago, we really are looking to bring in as many units as possible. We know that our folks doing services in the field, the biggest barrier to more placements is that access to units. So this is a way to get more doors open for our neighbors exiting homelessness.
Thank you. Alex, you're next.
Yeah, hey.
Wait, you
Oh.
okay. Muted instead of unmuted. Sorry.
This is Alex with the Portland Mercury. I am curious if this plan was in the works before the 3000 project kind of announced its campaign to move 3,000 folks into housing by the end of the year. If this was inspired at all, or if this was already kind of a plan on the table.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, we've been planning this program for a while. A lot of the tools that we're offering to landlords were already in existence. We just wanted to use this platform to be able to get the word out. I think that it pairs very nicely with the 3000 challenge, and many of the folks who, the organizations that have signed on to the 3000 challenge are our providers and will be working closely with us on this program. So we see these as fitting very nicely together.
Thanks all. Sophie, your hand is raised still. Is that from before? Do you have another question?
Yeah, no, that's a mistake. I don't know how that happened.
That's okay. It's
You can
Zoom.
nullify my hand raising.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions? Alex, please.
Yeah, I have one more. I'm curious, obviously there are a lot of benefits that come to landlords who are partnering with this because of the kind of go-between supports, but I'm curious if there are any other specific incentives that you're kind of putting out there to get landlords to participate, if you're at all worried that there won't be that many interested without kind of more prompting, or if you're feeling confident that people are interested in this program.
I'll just start and then I'll pass it over to Shannon. Many of our providers, in fact, all of them have been working very closely with landlords for years. And this is just an attempt to get the word out to more landlords that this program is available. We have landlords who've been through it, who are currently renting to people who used to be homeless, so that we have success stories to talk about. And we know that once people get involved, they will continue to be involved, like Violet was talking about earlier. So this is a chance for us to get the word out to the public that this exists. Every day when I'm out talking to people, they're always asking me, what can I do? I want to help. And this is a chance for people to step up and help. Shannon?
Thank you, Chair. I would just add that this is really, it's just that call to action to the chair's point. And I think similarly, we did this type of effort when we started our Ending Veterans Homelessness initiative. And despite having hundreds of landlords that we were partnering with as providers, we did get new folks come to the table to explicitly work on that initiative. And I would expect to and hope to see a similar response around here for the larger population of folks experiencing homelessness.
Can I say something as a landlord? The security in knowing that you will receive your rent is a benefit, I think, that should be talked about. And when you're having problems with a tenant, knowing that there is a case manager that can intervene and work with you. Traditionally, you're fighting the system with that tenant, trying to get him out. You can't get him out. 2 months have gone, 3 months have gone, no rent, no rent, no rent. But knowing that you will have rent while we're working through whatever challenges might be arising is the additional benefit.
Thanks, Violet.
Thank you. Thank you. See a couple more hands up now. Jim, you got in there before Max, so please ask away.
Thank you. Please tell me more about the screening process for making sure that people can move into this housing. I think many people in this region are very concerned about all the people they see living in tents and on the street, which are really the chronically homeless that have a lot of issues. But it sounds to me like they can't transfer automatically just from the street into an available apartment. What's the screening process like, and what qualifications will they have to meet before they can actually move into a subsidized apartment?
Shannon or Julia, do you, as folks who have implemented this program, do you want to take that one on?
We move folks directly from street homelessness into community-based housing. So there were no qualifications other than needing permanent supportive housing. So having been chronically homelessness for over a year and having a disabling condition that kind of affects your day-to-day living. But we have not had problems with that because we've had intensive case management and individualized for each individual, so that when they have needs, whether they be behavioral health needs or physical health needs or disputes with neighbors, things that can just happen in any kind of living situation, there have been intensive wraparound services to help support them to comply with the terms of their lease and to be good neighbors and to, use that quiet enjoyment that we all want in our apartments. So that's how our program works. And again, it's been very successful.
And I would add, this is where the piece that I would love for us to keep clarifying around what Housing First actually is. It is an evidence-based practice. It has a large body of research behind it. And so it is effective to utilize this type of support. But again, reiterating, it's not housing only. It is housing with the wraparound supports. So I am a bit of a data nerd and love to read the actual research, but it is out there if folks want to dig into more of why this model is effective and how to utilize it. And so we're just building on that body of evidence and our local personal experience in having success with this type of model.
Okay. Anything to add to that one, or I will.
I'm just curious. I know Bill Boyd is on the call, and I don't know if he has something that he wanted to add as well.
Bill, if you want to answer, unmute, go on camera.
Hi, my name is Bill Boyd. I use he, him pronouns. I work at the Joint Office and have been supporting the rollout of the Move in Multnomah initiative. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to add to Julia or Shannon's comments. A lot of the work we do with landlords is negotiating around the screening criteria. The landlords use their screening criteria when they select any applicant, and we are using these incentives to work with them to look at ways to alter the ones that would keep people who can be successful in housing out of housing because of things like bad credit or other kind of screening criteria. So I think that's where a lot of where the transaction between an applicant looking for housing and a landlord play out.
Thank you all. Max, you've got your hand up and it is your turn to ask.
Thanks. Yeah, Max Edgener, the Portland Tribune. I'm curious about a little more detail about sort of who will be prioritized, like if it really will be a situation where people who are living outside are moved directly into willing landlords' buildings, or if there's sort of service providers have lists of people who they're connected with that sort of have different levels of or living conditions that are going to be prioritized over others, or yeah, just more about the kind of the prioritization of who might be utilizing this.
Thank you. I think it's a bit of a both and. We do have providers will work with folks who are in shelter, in transitional housing, on the streets currently, maybe living in a car. It really is wherever the person is at. Our providers currently meet folks there and support their movement back into housing. That can look different depending on the person. And so we're not going to prioritize a certain type of site for access to this. It's really about what's going on for the person and how do we help open those doors to move more people out of those emergency responses and into permanent housing. But again, it is both and. Folks will move out of shelter, will move out of transitional housing, and will move from the streets and cars into these apartments.
Great, thanks. And I had just another one too. I'm curious if you've done any research or studying into sort of like finding a number of available units that landlords have kind of overall. I know that this is a call to bring landlords in, but I know there have been some numbers floated about like how many units could be available or are available. I'm curious if you guys have researched and like found a specific number of available units that are out there.
We have not. I know that many of the organizations that represent rental companies have Metro Multifamily. Other organizations do produce estimated numbers. Those do change on a daily. It's a fluid number as people are moving in and out. So I know that there are a lot of vacant units. It's up to us then to make sure that those landlords out there who have a vacant unit know that we have money and we have people to put in those units and to pay them for their places.
Thanks all. And Sophie informs that this time her hand raise is a real hand raise this time. So please ask again, Sophie.
Hey, this is Sophie with Willamette Week again. 2 quick questions. Will you guys be accepting any unit at any rate? Is there a cap that you guys have that you won't be able to pay above?
Bill, would you step into that question?
Yeah, we're looking to find units that are, I'm using this term broadly, reasonable rents. So I would say that, rents that seem way out of line with market rate, we would talk to that interested landlord and explain the reason why it wouldn't work. But we haven't settled on the exact metrics yet, but it will be looking at common figures used that are often around just what is considered a reasonable rent.
Got it. Thank you. And then which county providers specifically will be tasked with helping folks move into these specific units when they become available?
Sophie, that will be all of our providers in our current network. We are asking folks to opt in, saying that they have the ability to kind of step into this maybe heightened pace of placement and work. But we have offered it to all of our partners who are current folks that we can contract with out of the joint office.
Okay, and have any of them committed to participating in this program yet?
And I will ask Bill or the chair if you have that. I know we just launched, so you all are getting it hot off the presses as our landlords and providers are.
Yes, I would say there's, have been on a couple of calls with our providers talking about this program, our staff. both my personal team staff and then the joint office staff have been working with them. We obviously work very closely with our providers every day of the week, all year long. And we have had an outpouring of support. In fact, one of the reasons that this program was initially conceived of a few months ago was because we reached out to our provider community and said, what are the hurdles you have in getting people housed? And they said, we need more landlords. So that's why we developed these incentives, some which already had been in existence, some that are a little bit new, and then this call to action.
Thank you.
Jim, I saw your hand raised, but I don't see it now. Did you want to ask another question?
No, I was just looking for the contact information for landlords, and I see you posted it in the chat there. I didn't see it in the press release.
Yep. It's linked. If you click on the Move in Multnomah hot link on the release we sent out during the meeting, you'll find the website there.
Gotcha.
Yep. And actually, that's a good call. If there aren't questions, I will point out, if you want to send folks to multco.us/movein, all one word, there is more information there. There's an FAQ. There is a link to the landlord application form. Folks can see that and send that, get that, have access to that too. So there is a bit more information there if you want to include that in your coverage. So, and if we don't have more questions, oh, Alex, please.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the site, and I am curious. You mentioned that the rent guarantees up for 12 months for the duration of the lease. What happens, or what, hypothetically would happen after that point? Would there be option to renew? Would there be option for a tenant to, be able to pay on their own? Is the hope that they'll be stable by that point to take over the lease?
Yes, the hope would be that they're able to take over the lease, but throughout that year time, our providers are staying in contact with people. So part of what we do and why it's that retention services and having that relationship with people. So they'll be problem solving if there are challenges for the tenant to pay their rent or their portion of the rent, if providers are doing kind of that shared rent model, so that throughout that time, they're able to really move into that stable and economic self-sufficiency around their rent payments. We always want to continue working with landlords, so the opportunity to renew and for that person to extend their lease would be ideal. Again, the longer folks can have some stability, the more they can really work to redevelop their network and community of support and move out of survival and into thriving.
All right. I'm not seeing more hands. Last call, I would say, if you got a burning question while we're all together and you've got us here. Otherwise, again, things come up as you're writing, reporting. Give me an email, dennis.thoralt@multco.us, 510-875-8546. Always here, and we'll get your questions answered. If not, I will thank once more our panelists, our speakers. Thank you for sharing your stories, for giving us your time. And thank you also to our journalist friends for also giving your time and paying attention to this issue. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for helping us get the word out. Have a great day.